Hello everyone. Thank you so much once again for joining us. So in our last session, we have basically learned how to work with Docker file creation and also how to create the Docker image and also manage the Docker image and then push to the registry such as Azure Container Registry and Docker Hub. Coming to this in today's topic, we will be learning about networking in Docker. So what is network in Docker or what is Docker network? Are the backbone for communication between containers in a containerized applications. They act as virtual network within the host machine, allowing containers to connect and interact with each other and outside world in a controlled manner. So that means, as the name suggests, right, network basically has some boundary between the services. So in our case, when we work with the containerized application, is nothing but any application that is already containerized. That means you create a Docker file, then you create the image based on the Docker file, and then you try to run that one as a containerized applications. So the same situation now, let's say you have a two different application, you want to basically communicate this thing, or maybe you want to block the communications. How are you going to manage in this situation? This is when we are going to learn today about networking in Docker. That means how the applications can communicate, talk to each other, right? So, or maybe what kind of restriction we can have it. So we will try to understand in today's sessions. All right, so let's get started. So, as I mentioned in our last session, we have, as we all know, right, the default network, that is a bridge network. That means whenever you create a Docker, by default, the bridge network will be created for you. Now, what is bridge network? The Docker creates a bridge network called bridge on each host. Now, containers attached to its network can communicate with each other. Now, what we need to understand, let me take you to the like here. Let me come back to my thing here. Now let us understand one thing here. As I mentioned, that means the default network, that is a bridge network. Let us confirm. How we can confirm that one? If you type here Docker network bridge, sorry, Docker network ls. ls means I'm going to list all the different type of network. Let me enter. As you type here, as I mentioned, there are three mostly type we will be using. One is a bridge, host, sorry, bridge, host, and none. Now we are talking about the bridge, right? So let's focus on the bridge. Now that means now you can see the network ID for every single network also has a network ID so that they can associate to certain container as and when required, right? So let us verify first about the container. I mean, bridge network. How can we verify? There is a different way of checking it on the or verifying it, like to basically how it works. We can verify in many ways, right? So how can we check that one? First thing, as I told you, whenever you create a Docker, whenever you basically this thing, by default the bridge network will be used. So let us confirm that. If you type here if config, it config is nothing but this is a Linux command to check your IP address, basically your Ethernet cables, everything configuration, basic network configuration, basically, right? So let us see now. If you type the if config, you get to see there are different type of like Ethernet. Let's say Docker 0, Ethernet 0, and LO. So what are all these, right? Let us understand one by one. In short, now, as I mentioned, when I type if config, that means I'm going to list all the Ethernet connectivity or the network components, like your connectivity, everything, right? The first one, what we see is a Docker 0. What is Docker 0? Docker 0 is nothing but your Docker bridge, right? Whenever you create a Docker, Docker, basically by default, the Docker bridge will be created. So the Ethernet, basically the Ethernet name will be, or interface name you can call it, will be used as call with, I mean, use or created with this name by default. That is a Docker 0. Okay. Now you can see this is the IP of your host, and this is a max card. Nothing much explain need to explain here. So coming to the second, this is actually your Ethernet 0. That means this is actually your host Ethernet connections. And LO, what is LO? LOLB, we all know this is a loop back. Loop back, why we are using it? If you see here, start with 127.0 sorry 127.0.0.1, right? And this is a net mask. So this basically will be used only for the internal communication purpose. That means if you're using the loop back, if somebody wants to talk to you, they have to, as long they are using the same IP address as a loop back, they can communicate internally. That means only internal purpose we can be use it. So okay, I hope this is clear, team. Now let's go back to the second point. So as I mentioned, the one way we can check. Second way, if you want to check, we can also type your host name basically. Dash, you can mention the I. Now you can see here. I means basically what will show you. This is your loop back. So we are not focusing on the loop backs things like that now. But if you want to see, if you want to even grab, there is also we can run this command also. If I'm saying if you want to filter out, let's say I can type as a IP dash basically a IP listing all IP address. Then I can mention the pipeline symbol. Then I can mention the graph. Graph is something to basically filter our, right? Then inet. Now we have what is inet. We need to understand here also. This is quite interesting as well as it is needed for us to understand. Uh, yeah. So now why I'm trying to show you is that as we all know, IP address, we have two types of IP address, right? One is IP4 version 4. Second is version 6. Now in IP version 6, so in IP4, IPv4 basically what we have is basically we have it will be 32 bits, and when comes to the IPv6 they are 128 bits, right? For each bit has a 8 bytes. So let's not go that details. So let's focus here. So this is what is saying now. If this is a loop back and it is a host LO is nothing but it is a loop back use. And second one is basically what is this? This also mentioned global loop back. This also used for some un like what I said, that is not a default loopback. This is also another loopback. If you see here LO, this is for globally used for some other internal communication purpose. And if you see here, this is the inet 6. Inet 6 means IPv4, sorry, IPv6. That means this is the reason why you can see this scope. This belong to the host. And again, this is the actual IP address. That means whenever we are using this thing, this is the actual IP address of your host machines. If you see here, this is Ethernet, this thing, host machines. But when comes to the let me take little up. Yeah, here, if you see here, this has a different. This IP is different, and this IP, what I was showing. Let me expand maybe this a little, right? These two IP are different. That means this can be used when this is using for the host time. Host, there is another concept called the host, and this is for the bridge network. That means, as I shared, bridge network basically will have this thing. They'll have internal IP, they'll be using IP like what I call what I say is the this one Ethernet. You can call as interface as Docker 0. That time we'll be using this one, and if you're going with the host, then we'll be using this one because this belongs to this thing. I will come back this later when we explain. And this is again IPv6. Okay. Now, as you can see here, this is a net 4. This is a, if you see, inet is bit or 4 or 6. That means this is a IPv4, and this is IPv6. Now in IPv4, if you see Docker 0, right? Docker 0, you can compare here. What is the IP address? Docker 0 I mentioned, right? 172.17. You can check 0.0.1, right? 1. Here you can see 1. So this is why I was saying it. This is used. This IP is used only for your bridge network. But when it comes to the host network, as I mentioned, we'll be using it this IP address. If you see here, this is a Ethernet level, Ethernet 0. This is a Ethernet interface name as a Docker 0. We will understand it in details in some time. Okay, for now that's okay. Let's go. Let us go back. Now, what we need to understand here is we try to, as I mentioned. So basically, when I maybe explain, okay, I have it in documents. Maybe it is explained well in details also a little bit. Okay, now as I mentioned, we are talking about this one. Let's understand these definitions. Create a virtual bridge with this name, right? On the host machine. Host machine is something where you have installed the Docker, right? And this bridge acts as a central hub for container to connect and communicate using private IP address assigned by Docker's internal DHCP. That means it will be assigned by a Docker internal DHCP server. Containers can access the host network and antenna if allowed through the bridge interface. So as I mentioned, that means now we'll have this thing. One thing what we need to understand here is the technical details. If you little bit understand, try to understand in details, the virtual Ethernet device or a VAD pairs Docker utilize this thing, virtual Ethernet device pairs to establish virtual network connection between containers and the Docker bridge. That means containers and Docker bridge, they connect through what? They can communicate through Docker 0. And then bridge network, Docker manages IP address allocations within the bridge network using the subnet. Each container connected to each bridge network is assigned an IP address from the subnet. That means within the subnet, whatever IP range you have, they will be allocated the IP range. IP range means the whatever IP range you have within your subnet will be allocated to each container, right? And firewall rules on the host machines, firewall rules control outbound traffic from containers to external world. These rules are enforced to regular and secure network communication originating from the containers. So nothing much to explain, right? As we all know, firewall is something we can deny or we can basically allow, depends on the requirements. So that can be possible. Now, what we need to understand here, let us see that. In same thing I have also mentioned in note. So whenever I want to create, so we have already seen how to create this thing. Now let me take back to the here. Where is that? I think yeah, here. Now as I mentioned, when I check the Docker network host, sorry, ls. Now I have this thing. First, if I have this one, by default, this is the default 3 network. Now let us create one more network, then see what name it this thing, because as I mentioned, this is the default, right? Let me confirm. How can I confirm that one? You can mention Docker network, and I can mention create is something you want to create Docker network. I can give a name means let's say if you see here, where is that? Okay, they have not created here, but here we have mentioned the step also to create, right? So if you see Docker network create, this is a network name. That means what you notice here, you need to notice one thing here. We are going to create a network, Docker network basically, and we given the name as this name. But if you can carefully look this one, we have not explicitly defined the network type. Then how Docker will understand what network type, this particular name, whatever I have defined, what will be the default network type or network it should be whether host or the bridge or the non, how they will understand. So as I mentioned, if you do not define manually or explicitly, by default this will be considered as a bridge network. So let me show you. Let me create now. I will remove this one. So as I mentioned, as a type here, because I have not defined the network type, I simply try to create a network, that's it. So let me enter. Now you can see this basically ID, network ID. Now if I type here as I mentioned, by default, it will be a network of bridge, right? Let us confirm. Docker network, maybe you can use uppercase, this thing. Now, you can see here, right? This is the network ID. This is the name of the network. This is the name that we have shared it just now we again here. And if you see here driver, right under here, this is a bridge. As I clearly mentioned, if you do not define any network type, by default, it will be considered as bridge network. So it is confirmed now. By default, it will be created as a bridge network. Now, if you want to inspect of this particular basically network, inspect in the sense I want to check the details of this particular network. How can I check? We can use, if you remember last week, we have learned Docker inspect. Then I can give the whatever the you have the ID, right? I can inspect. What it will do is that when you try to inspect particular, because we are trying to, if you see the comments, what we are trying to do is that we are trying to inspect particular network. That means I want to check the configurations of the network. That means how this network is used, what is the IP address, how this is, what kind of containers are used within this particular network. This all we can check it. So let us go one by one now. Okay, as I mentioned, this is a new network. We have not associated any of this thing. Now, if you check here, um, right, this is the name of our the network, and this is the full ID, as you can check here. Same thing, if you do while creation, you can check. This is the last ID is 62C, right? 62C. So you are confirmed now. And created, when it is got created, you can check what is the scope. This is scope. What is the driver? This is a bridge. Driver is nothing but it's a type of the network. In my case, it is a bridge network. And you can say enable IPv4. Yes, it is enabled. IPv6 we have not enabled. That is a default behavior. And now you can see driver is a default. That means this is not the custom anything. As I mentioned, this particular network is basically default network. So you can see configuration. Now, if you can take a look closely here, we have a subnet. Within here, the subnet is being used. Okay. Now we have a gateway also. Now, this will be used for internal attachable. Yes, it is right now done. Nothing is ATOS. Ingress, nothing is mentioned right now, right? So now we have understood. That means what we understood, whenever we created default network, but it will be created as the bridge network. And we have check also here. Okay, now let's go. Now, as I mentioned, you have listed. Now, if you want to run also within these applications, I will run this later because there is a separate demo that explains more in the project focus and small mini project kind of things. I will not go through right now. I don't want to, because as I mentioned, once you create a Docker container, I mean network, you can attach to the certain what is container, so that the container can use the different network type as whatever network name you define instead of the default bridge network. So yeah, if you want to verify, as I mentioned, we can verify like this Docker network interface, whatever the basically name you have it, you can inspect like that also. So inspect also we have checked it, right? So that's connect. If you want to disconnect it, if you want to disconnect the existing network from your basically what you call application containers, then you can use a disconnect argument. So instead of the create, you can define as a disconnect, and this is the name of your network, and this is the name of your containers. Okay, so it is clearly mentioned. Go through this one. As I mentioned, we have a demonstration. I'm just trying to show you in the high level now. Okay, now we have understood. Same thing, if you want to rename also, we can just rename it like this. So whatever name, if you want to rename, just go with the rename arguments. If you want to RM means basically, sorry, my bad, I did something else. Yeah, so RM basically you want to remove it, right? Whatever the new whatever network name, I can remove it if you want. Okay, so that's the thing. Okay, now we have understood the high level, and we have a demonstration for each network. I will come back to that point. Let's understand the technical things first. Now let's understand the second one. So second one is basically, okay, bridge network we have understood, and high level, so we can basically run the containers, everything we can do. So as I mentioned, we have a session, I will explain that later. When coming to the features, It is an isolator virtual network on the host. That means on the host it will be isolator. Containers have unique IP address within the network. That means for each container would be having a separate IP address. Okay, carefully listen. This is for the bridge network. Whenever you create a containers or use the bridge network, for each container would have a individual unique IP address assigned. Okay, and NAT for outbound communication to the antenna. Now, as we all know, for uniquely whenever we have a IP address, somewhere you need to talk to the outside of the world or maybe network, some where you need to have the translator that can translate the communication between internal and external, that is with the help of NAT. That is a network address translator or translate. You can call it translator, right? That means we can have a option there when to use. Also, this is something called as, if you remember in our last session, we have try to basically expose the what they call port, right? Internal port and external port. That is what it is. So I'll come to that point later. And use cases, default isolation, space for container interaction. Okay. So as I mentioned, if you're using the bridge network, still if you have a multiple containers, they can talk to each other, but only when they have a net. This one, that is basically you have to map the port. For each local port has to be mapped with your container port. Actually, I will show you that also. Okay, and then deploying single host applications. Okay, now let's go to the next one, that is a host network. Now, what is host network? Host network, basically containers can use the host network stack. Carefully listen. They have container can use the host network stack, eliminating network isolation. This can be useful for performance critical applications. Now, okay, we can run this one. We will run the command later. Features: bypass container network namespace using the host network stack. Containers share host IP address and ports, and high performance but less isolation. You can get a high performance, but there is no any isolations. And use case when 1 minute. Sorry, I'll just spell. Okay. So I was saying about the use cases, right? Performance and the networking arguments. Now let's answer one thing here. So as for the host network related, right? So containers can use the host network stack. Host network stack means for let's say I have I will be running two containers, right? All two containers, or maybe let's say here 10 or 20 containers will be used one. Basically, they'll be using what? Host network stack. Host network stack in the sense. Let me show you maybe here. Okay, I can just. Yeah. Now we have already understood when coming to the Docker bridge. This one we are using now. If you see Ethernet, that means this is a Ethernet. Mean this is actually your physical Ethernet. Careful listen. This is actually using a physical Ethernet. So this IP, what we see here, this is the IP, is what they are going to be used, because they are going to use the your physical host network stack. They are going to use. That means this is a physical interface that you are going to it is used for the your particular system, right? So this is where you have installed Docker also. So this stack, see, this host network stack will be used. That means this IP range or this particular this thing will be used for your container to communicate. Okay. Now, okay, sorry, my bad. Let me go back. And so now container shares the host IP address and port. Now, again, as I mentioned, they are using the host network stack. They are using the we have shown, or I have already explained that. Now containers, basically there is nothing called the same IP. That means whatever IP we have here, right? This is the IP, right? This is a host machine. That means this is a host stack, right? Network stack basically. That means this is where you install the container, I mean Dockers, and now they'll be using this one. This same IP will be used basically. This same IP will be shared across your containers. That means the same IP address will be used for every single container. There is nothing like in our case here, they'll be using a separate, because under this subnet, when coming to the breeze, they'll be having a subnet range. Based on the subnet range, whatever IP range they have, they'll be having a unique IP address for each container, right? But when comes to the um, what you call host network, is not like that. Host network itself use the entire physical host network stack. So this is the host network stack of your physical. So this same IP address will be shared across your containers. I hope it is clear by now, right? Okay, now let's go back. um okay, now then high performance, then of course they are sharing the same IP, it will be less isolations, as we have known now. Now let's go to the next. Okay, I think we have here. Okay, host network, you can also check here. And the definition wise, removes network isolation between containers and the host machine. That means, as I told you, they're using the host network stack. So there is no any communication between container and the host machine. Host machine, as I mentioned, it is your system where you have installed a Docker or running your Docker. That's it. Okay. And container, these all isolated. So containers share the same IP address and network configuration. That means container, whatever the network host address, whatever we have it, same address or network configuration will be shared as the host. As the host means where you are running the containers, sorry, Dockers. Okay, allowing direct access to the host network. So that means, as I mentioned, they're using same IP configuration, same range. They can have a communications easily. Here, in this case, as there, if you see allowing direct access to the host network resource, that means now here, let's say if they are using this particular Ethernet, this thing host network stack, if they're using, we don't have to expose any port. Why? Because they are basically having a shared IP, right? The same IP is shared, so there's nothing to map them. But when coming to the bridge network, because it has a unique IP address, and also this thing, for each container have their own unique IP address, right? This is the reason why when we try to basically run the containers, we need to expose the port number also, internal port as well as container port, if you remember. But when comes to the here, we don't need to do so. Before mapping the port, you can easily access them. Okay, I will explain again later. Okay, now, yeah, container inheritance. Container inherit the host IP address, subnet range, gateway, and DNS. So it is very clear. Like whatever host configuration, it will take that as same stack. Stack means entire configuration basically, right? And direct access to network resource. That means, as I mentioned, you don't have any blockage there. They will be having a direct access to the resource. Container can directly access network resource available to the host machine, like physical network device, as I mentioned. Physical network device mean that what I have shown, Ethernet 0, right? That one. So they can communicate easily without exposing any IP address. Here, no explicit creation needed. Host network utilizes the host network not recommended. But yeah, we don't have to create any separate this thing. And but they are saying is it is not recommended to use it in this thing. The reason why it is not recommended, because it is not having the isolation, right? They are using the same IP address. It can be security breach also. So you hope you understood by now. Now, if you want to attach, same like that. You can attach, let's say Docker run, when you create running the Docker, and you can mention the name of the Docker image. And this is the type. Basically, I want to specify particular network type, and I can give it some name. So what I can do now, I have already created one Docker, this thing, right? Let me check. Yeah, I have only created one network called with this name, and this is a breeze. Now, if you want to explicitly define instead of the breeze other network, I have to use the argument called as a double dash and a network. So let us see how we can create how we can create the network for host network. Now, Docker network is something that you have to define always. Create is something to create, and I can give double dash. Double dash and name of the, basically this is the argument to specify type of the network. In my case, I want to create a host network, right? So I can mention the host, sorry, network host, because this time I don't want to create this thing, I want to create host. What is the name of the network? I can mention simple example host. I can give as a network 01 example. Docker network create. Is this spelling wrong? Let me check. So as I let me go back. Something I'm typing the wrong spelling, I think. Where is that? Okay, here I think, right?
It should be Docker network create. I think.
Did I type wrong, still?
Yes.
Docker network create network host. Okay, now I got it. So there is a small mistake. I'll copy paste it better, no problem. We have it here, right? If you see here. Register. Yeah, this is basically Fabrice one. And inspecting, then disconnect, that is Fabrice. Okay, let us go the what is the host network, right? Okay, here host network. So yeah, so if you want to create a host, we can mention the host. Same thing, I typed this only, but maybe name. Okay, maybe the arguments name is okay. Double dash network. Is it spelling correct? Docker network create network. I define host.
After create,
Maybe
we have to name it, right? And maybe that's Docker
okay.
network create. After that, what is the name of the
Yeah,
network? And then type
maybe I
of it.
can give. Yeah, let's just give maybe. Okay, I will change this one.
Along with the type of the network.
Yeah, I can give a network. Sorry, network host. Network in my case, I can give it a host. Maybe in this case, double dash name or single name. Maybe we can check. Okay, then I can mention the name. Maybe anything name. Maybe host network. Spelling wrong. 1 minute. Docker help network. Okay. To create, we'll start. Okay, to create, connecting here, creating here, create network, disconnect from SRM. We're using this only. Okay, one will copy paste here the entire thing. Maybe I'm doing something mistake in the container name while defining. Maybe see if you see here, this is a name, host name. One minute, let me check. Otherwise, name. Okay, I will create later, maybe, otherwise maybe somewhere I'm doing this thing. Let me check this one. Yeah, non-network. Okay, so I will run this thing. If you see, this is directly running a Docker host. So I just copy paste the otherwise. Defining the name, maybe I'm doing somewhere wrong. It's okay. Okay. So basically, what we are doing is, so this time we are trying to create this thing manually. The access the name. Okay. Shadow. Down for one. So we are trying to use the what happened? Oh my God, I got locked out. The code login. I don't remember my password also now. See. Oh, logged in. Okay. Maybe Docker run. Try to run one second. What is saying permission didn't where I have access it? Surprising it. Docker reason. Denied requested access to the resource denied. Why I'm getting this message? Docker login. They mentioned I can log out or login. May could be some issue. Let me close. I don't know why it's coming like this. Sorry. Legacy application. Okay, my bad. This one I'll not be using it actually. This is something random. I used it maybe because of that. I'll use Ubuntu. Let's say. Okay, now if you see here Docker, there is a ignore the image. So I was using my old image that I don't have the access. So that is the thing. You can ignore that one. So now you can see the host network. Now you can see the host, whatever name we given host, and it got created. Now there is the host network legacy f. Okay, now yeah, now we understood. Now basically I have the demo. I will show you that. Let me just complete the theoretical first. Okay, let's not create anything for now. Okay, these are the commands, same as the, if you see here also, like Docker network, Docker network. You can use double dash help. Also, you can get a what commands we can run, connecting to connect, create, disconnect, everything. You can check. Same thing I have also mentioned here. You can take a look once. Okay, that's the thing. Coming to the last one, that is a non-network. We'll just finish this. Non-network is something. Yeah, here. So there is another network called as a non-network. Provides complete network isolations for containers. Containers connected to the non-network have no network interface. That means if any container which are using the non-network would not have access, meaning they don't have any network interface, cannot communicate with each other or external world. So that will be very isolated. Only the internal within the container can come. They can individually they can work, but there is no any communication between the container itself. So it will be isolated. So network here, network interface creation, no network interface is created for the container, essentially disabling all network communication. So as you know, right, without having the network interface, how we can communicate? So they will disable entire your network communication. Creating a non-network, no explicit creation needed. None provides a network isolation. So you don't have to create explicitly, but yeah, if you want to create, you can use a non-network non. Same thing, we can, if you want, you can create, as I mentioned, you can create it, but we don't have to do much here. So like, let me go back to the documents. Yeah. um yeah, I think I mentioned some yeah. Here, port mapping also, as we all know, right? Port can be mapped between the host and the container to allow external access to the containerized service. Example, if you remember, we were running here port dash p, and then this is your the local port, and this is your the container port. It is a container port actually that listens on particular containers applications basically. Okay, so that's how it is. So yeah, so what we will do, on the high level we have understood, but now let us see how we can demonstrate in the this thing. I have made a note so that you can follow along. Mm, let's see. Okay, it's taking time maybe. Is it already created? Oh my god, it is already open, I think. Okay, now this is basically depends on the topic that we discuss. I have made a clear notes so that you can just copy paste these commands and use them and understand the how it works, right? So scenarios like how we, what exactly we are going to do here, deploying a web app with a database. So it is not a big or a real-time applications, but it is a very simple applications that we are going to be experiencing today, so that you get some idea how the network basic in Docker when it comes to Docker works together, right? Or maybe situation wise. So so as you can see here, deploying the web app with database. So web app means database mean we all know. Example, we'll set up the web server, that is a Nginx. Nginx something all we know, right? This is used for the basically web server part. And MySQL we all know it is a database. Here what we are going to do, we have it three different network models as we have learned. One is a bridge, host, and non. We have already learned some of the like high level and also shown some of the important notes. But here we will see in the real time demonstrations. So I will do that. And then we will do a test connectivity within the service. Then after checking this differentiation between these services, I mean network, then we will do a testing and see how individual network model works. Okay. So yeah, so let's get started. So as I mentioned, let us go with the bridge network is something we use. So when can we use a bridge network? Multi-container app with the communication. Now, if you have a multiple containers, sorry, yeah, if you have a multi container applications with communication, that means let's say you have a 10 containers, all 10 containers you want to have them communicated each other, or you want to make them communication between the container. In this case, you can go with the bridge network. That is the default, as I also mentioned, right? So this simulates in real-time microservices setting basic setup where container talks internally. So first thing what we will do, create a custom bridge network. Sorry, my bad. I need to type. This is a network. Okay. Bridge network. So we have already created one bridge network, but I will delete that also. Maybe it will be not that one. So why we want to, because we are first demonstrating using the bridge network. So that is a default, but in my case I given the some name, this name. So okay, otherwise let's not delete that one. I will just come back. I'll copy paste it. It is nothing. Docker network create and the name of the network. As I mentioned, if you do not explicitly mention or define your network type, by default it will be considered as a bridge network. But still I want to create with this name, right? That is the reason. Let me copy so that I can save some time, right? Sorry, my bad. That means what I'm going to do, first thing I'm going to create a bridge network with the desired name, that is a app network. As you create that, this is a network ID. Now you can check it, Docker network ls, right? Ls basically, this is the name we have given just now. And as I mentioned, you do not mention anything, but then still it is taken as a bridge network because that is a default network. That means our default network, but I don't want to, there is another bridge network, right? This is also bridge network, but I don't want to use this default one. I want to use this network. This is also bridge, but then I want to use what I need as part my requirement, right? This is a new created by myself, right? So let us use this one. That means I have created the bridge network. Let me close maybe this one. Second thing, now what I have to do, the network is ready. Now I can now run the web server and database in bridge. That means now I need to create basic in the same bridge network. I'll be basically running my application, Dockerized applications. That is, one is your database, second is your what I call web server. Web server that is a Nginx, and when come to the coming to the database, it is a MySQL. So this is the reason why I'm running the see if you see here, Docker run dash name. This is a web server. Web server, as I mentioned, it is a Nginx, and now I have mentioned the network. Network, I have expressly mentioned network. What is the name of the network? I am explicitly defining my network name. That is the app network. That means this is the network that I created right now. That means I'm defining this is the network name, which is app network, and D is nothing but detach mode, and dash P is basically to expose the port. That is the Nginx. As we all know, Nginx is used for the external purpose, right? That means anybody can access it. But when comes to the database, that is a MySQL, normally they do not have access to the publicly, right? So it is very clear. This is the reason why in our case, as I mentioned clearly, when comes to the bridge network, by default, the internal communication will be there in this thing now. But if you see here, but we need to expose the IP when comes to the network port. I mean, bridge network. This is the reason why I am using the expose arguments here with the local port, that is a 8080, and this is a container port, that is the this container port. That means web app port that is used for the Nginx. This port will be used internal inside a container. This is the host basically where you're running the Dockers basically, or local. You can mention as a local port basically. I hope this is clear. Now let me run this thing. Okay.
And what does D stands for? Hyphen D.
Okay. D stand for detach mode. See,
Detach.
there are two detach and there is a attach mode. Detach means, okay, I will come to a point, Manish. See, okay. So, okay, you understood about the P, right? P basically port, P-O-R-T, port. You can mention as a port, P-O-R-T, but we don't call it as a port. We call it a short name as a P. Okay, this is clear. D means it's nothing but we can call as a D detach mode. Okay, what is a detach mode? Detach mode, why we are using first thing? If you do not use the detach mode, what happens here? You will be you cannot come out of your terminal. That means you have to exit from the terminal. Detach mode means your container can be run in the background. Detach mode means your container, what you creating the Nginx container using this name, right, web app, this can be run in the background. That means if I don't use the D arguments, that means I'll be inside the container. I cannot run any other commands. But right now, if you see here, I can run whatever commands I need outside of the container. That means this is running in the background. That means the container itself running in the background. So I can work, I can do my work, other work basically. Is it clear? Is it clear, Mani?
Yeah.
Okay, great. Yeah, great. Okay, so as I mentioned, Nginx something I want to expose because it is used for the publicly. So to use publicly, I need to expose the port. Otherwise, I cannot use the Nginx because that's we are using the bridge network. So now if you see here, I am creating the I'm basically creating the containers with this name. Name I have mentioned container name is this is the container name. This is the name of the network type. This is why I mentioned the network name. This is the name of the network that I created recently. And sorry, I think I missed it one here, right? P. Yeah. Then this is the network name. And then I can define the port, exposing the port that is used for the Nginx going to be basically containerized now, Nginx application. This is used for the web app. Now let me run. Now, if you see, if you run, automatically they will check locally first. That is what we have discussed last time also. That first, if any image that you are going to basically pull, maybe containerize or anything, whether you are pulling or maybe you are running it, they will check locally in your local system. If image that is your Nginx is available in locally, they will use it. Something, let's say if Docker image is not available in your local system, then they will get the latest from your remote, that is your Docker hub. So as you can see here, it is got downloaded. Now you can see this already exit. Okay, what we can do is it is existing. We have this name. Let us see what is existing now. This is okay. If you see a error response from daemon conflicts, the container name this is already existing. That means maybe I have already running. Maybe I might have already done. Let me check that one. I can type a docker ps to check the running containers, right? Right now I do not see any running containers, but I might be having the at least the stop container also. Let me stop. Now let us see the web app name. Somewhere you can see the web app maybe if you just take a look closely. Um, yeah, this is the one. It is there, right? Somebody created, maybe I don't remember. Okay, let me delete this one. This is a stop one, right? How can I delete it? Using rm and a container name. Now it is got removed, right? Now the remove container is removed. Now let me run the same commands again. This one, because this is same name I want to use it. Let us see this time. See, now you can see the container is created right now. If you do not mention the D, automatically you will be inside the container itself. But right now you are not inside the container. You can see you are in your terminal. That means you can run any other container commands or sorry, Docker commands. Okay. So let us see now whether the container is running. Docker ps mean to basically list all running container. So as you can see here, right now you can see the container with this name, right? And this is the container ID basically. As we all know, whenever we create a container, this thing container ID also gets created. And image is what we are using this image, right? That is what you're saying Nginx. And this got created 25 second ago. And this is the port that we are exposing. This is the local port where you are running the containers, and this is the container port itself. Inside a container, that application listens on port 80, that is the Nginx. So we are using that is why we are exposing this 80, and you can see here how they mapped it. Local port with this thing, they have to map it to communicate, and this is the name of the container. I hope this is clear. Okay, now one is clear. Now let me create another container using the same network. That means I will have a same network, but then containers will be used different. But in this case, as we all know, MySQL is something that is we don't use it publicly, right? It will be used internal purpose, or it is used only for the database related things. Now, this is the reason why, if you can notice here, everything is there. If this is a basically container name I given as database, just like here I given as a web app for the Nginx, similar way for SQL I given as a database, right? And this is the same network I'm going to use, that is a app network and data mode. But one thing if you notice, I did not mention this one. That is I didn't expose the port because as I mentioned, it is database. So I don't want to expose. That means Let me copy this also. Oh my God. Let me know if you're not unable to understand. Okay, now let me run. Now this also, where what happened now? It will also check the MySQL whether this repository is available in your Git in your local or not. If it is not there, it is what they are checking it. Not able to find locally. If it's not there, directly they are pulling from the repository that is stored in your GitHub. This particular MySQL is available in your what I call this thing. I can show you this also better. Maybe yeah. Docker Hub. Okay, now, oh my God, I need to sign in. I don't know if I have. Okay, let me try. Sorry guys, I don't remember the password. I don't remember password. Let's forget this one. Okay. So anyway, so you understood, right? Last time I shown already. So they are going to pull latest from your MySQL, basically from your GitHub. Sorry, Docker Hub. So still it is pulling it. Let's wait. Still pulling. Meanwhile, team, let's get pull. Maybe later I will come back to the point. Maybe I can close this one because I don't need for now this. This we don't need. Maybe I can close this one. Yeah, we can focus here. Now what we will do, let's discuss here. So once that means we have created the default network, sorry, not default network, customized custom network, bridge network with this app network name. And this network, under this network, we will be deploying our containerized application, that is Nginx and the MySQL with this name, right? So there will be once it is running. Now the web app, that is the Nginx, right, is accessible at this particular port. Because why it is accessible is this particular port, because while when creating the container, we are exposing the port. This is why I have to call with the map with the local port. This is the reason why local host, then colon, I can mention the whatever name, port number is defined here. But coming to the database is isolated but available to web app. They're isolated. Why isolated? Because database something we don't want to expose publicly, but then internally they can still have a communication. Communication, how is it possible? Because as I told you, there is something called as a bridge network. They're using it, right? So bridge network is basically having a internal unique IP address, and they'll be using it. So we will see this also. Now before that, it can maybe internally on only internal purpose. Let's go back here. Okay, I think it's created now. Yeah, good. As you can see, it is successfully created right now. Let us see now how many containers are running. We will be having 2 containers running right now. Oh my God, what happened? What happened? Second one. Let me Docker T name database network. Any error is getting here? Local MySQL. Wait, let me check. Docker PS. Docker PS. Web app is getting installed. Nginx. What about this one then? What happened? Let me check. Docker D dash name database network this thing. Okay, let me run once again. Okay, so let us troubleshoot one thing. If you notice here, the error says that I try to run once again. It is not saying the running. That means containers is not running right now. Which container? For the database, but the MySQL, sorry, the web server is running. That is Nginx. Now when I try to run, it shows that it is already existing. Now we can check by using the maybe use the a mean all. Now I can search with the database. Let me know if you can see here somewhere database related. Maybe okay, database. Mm, this is the port. This is the recipe. Why it's not coming fully? 1 minute.
So there
Can
is
you?
MySQL
Oh
database.
yeah, correct, correct. Sir, my bad. Yeah, MySQL we given, right? Yeah, this MySQL is given. Yeah, this MySQL image is given. Counter name is there, but it is if you see here, code number. Check here. It is a excited one. One means what is a one? And rest all you can see the zero or something related to this thing. Nginx showing. Where is Nginx? Ubuntu also showing zero. Zero means no issue. Okay, and exact means basically there could be some issue. How can we now troubleshoot this issue? Okay, so maybe let us see. First, in order to troubleshoot, I need to know the container name. So as I mentioned, this is the container name, right? Or container ID basically. Container name is not given. Maybe okay. I will copy with this name. This is a container ID, right? Maybe let me check when I run if I have done some mistake. Docker run name. This is the name of the container name basically as database with this network. This is good. Command is good. Now let us troubleshoot. So how can we troubleshoot? Docker inspect. Now we can copy the container name as I think I have copied. My God, I didn't copy it. Database is that right? This is the database. It is got exited MySQL, right? Let me copy this one. Database. This is a container name or container ID you can copy in spec, right? Now, what we need to understand here, let's see one by one. Is it too big? Oh my God. Oh, so big. Okay. So, as you can see here, this is the ID, container ID. This is a part. This is a MySQL. This is what we use it. The status is a exited and running. It is not running right now. That is what is showing. It is false. That means it is not running. Sorry, it is not running. And we didn't pause also. Restart also. We didn't do anything. Did this thing. So if you see exit code is 1, there could be some issue. Now let's come down. Now if you see here locations, host part, not part, register policy, platform, service, network. Let's see if you see network part. This is the thing where we need to understand. This is a network. Network mode we have used this. A network name we have used it. Port binding we have not used it. Okay. Okay. This is good. Yeah, 100 drivers, load drivers. There is a okay. So with this name, we config links null alias mac nothing. This is a network address again. I mean ID. Okay. So right now there's no issue with network side. Maybe you need to check the in the while creations. So can be what can be the issue now? Now it is showing now. If you try to maybe let me run maybe under SQL, MySQL or SQL, maybe let us type. Let us okay. The data small application database. I can see database 01 maybe in this case. Docker run. Now let me run docker ps. Okay, maybe okay. This is stopping. Maybe say some reason because internal communication is not there. Because okay, anyway. So what we will do? We have done this thing. Now let us see this thing. Um, we'll try to access the basically in Docker exec web server, right? So web server, why we want to exit? Because this is one is a internal, one is external. Mm, clear. I can type Docker. Exec spelling correct. Exec does it. Then I can mention the web app is what we give a name. Then I can give a bash. This is actually bash is optional. I can give or I can ignore it. But what is going to do here is that it is going to now log in basically inside exec mean basically this is arguments to log in inside your container. So that is your web app. Web app is running right now, right? So we'll try to do in the bash. This IT means interactive terminal. That means we want to interact within the container itself. Now if you see here by you can see root the before it was showing is a local whatever name is that right now it is showing container. This is a container based ID. Okay, now we are inside a container. Now if I type here ping, now let me follow the documents, maybe it will be easy for you. Okay, now if you see here this is accessible, this is isolated, maybe because of that isolated maybe it is not showing here. Anyway, so now what we are done, we have done. Now we can call the database with this name, ping database like that. Let's say DATMPS is database. Sorry. Now it is not there. We need to say ping install. How can we install ping? Yum install. I don't know if that works, but yeah, let me see. Can somebody tell me how to install the maybe pin table? Let me check. I need give if config also because everything if config sorry I'm spelling wrong. Okay. Okay, we need to install the maybe install I need something I don't know. I don't remember the command to install it. Let me check. Um, okay, how to install the I can mention how to install what I call IP IP table. So I think it is IP table only, right? I think IP table. I think we need to try this only. Let me check if that's the correct comments. Oh my god, something is giving. IPT, yeah, IP tables. We have to type the IP tables. It is not a ping, so type with this thing IP tables. Okay, so yum install. We can update if you want to do update. Sorry, yum install IP table. apt, my bad. It is not a yum, guys. So it is a Ubuntu, right? So it will be apt install active. Yeah, package. Oh my god, is it still having issue? There is some dependency. Maybe I will first update it. Okay, I'll update first. Then what happened? Sudo not require my thing. Okay, sudo not require because I don't have any access. So I'm just running the apt update. Now it is got installed. Now same thing, you can just copy paste apt install IP tables. IP table is something to check the configuration of the network for now. Now it will get installed. Now yes, I can type yes. Okay, so IP table will to install. Now if I try with the ping database something. Oh, ping also. Okay, and then to check. This is good. Now, yeah, that's fine. Now let me check how to install telnet. I think it will apt telnet, right? So we can type here maybe apt install telnet, right? Telnet. Yes. So telnet to check the communications. Maybe. Okay, there is some issue. Okay, there is some issue with network. Okay, maybe that else. Okay. I don't know why it's still not showing. Maybe it's not saying. Maybe the container is having some issue. I will check the container for the MySQL why stop. This is the reason why it's not running the. I mean, not pinging it. I will check and let you know that in some time. Okay. Meanwhile, we will go this thing. So what we will do basically. Uh, Second one, basically host network, right? And the host network performs basically high performance and this thing. So same way, just like before. Here, what we are doing is Docker run. We are using the container name again. Maybe we can change this name something else because same name will be have used it. Oh, I can change this one. I can change to. This is for the host network. Basically, I didn't want to create. I just use the host network case. That means host network will be used. I can mention as a 10. Let's say web 10. Okay, remember web 10. Okay, now I can run it. Sorry, not. I have to exit. I'm in not. I'm inside container. Let me come out. I have come out now. I can type this thing. Web 10. Okay, this is for the second one, host one. So in the host, as I mentioned, uh, you don't need to define any particular port because by default they will be using the host basically stack, right? Host network stack they'll be using it. So let me just run it. So the code PS, yeah, host now you can see now it is running now. So what we need to do here next, that means we have run this particular, I'll just mention 10 here instead of this thing maybe. Okay, now Nginx accessible with our port mapping. Right now, if you see before, to access this thing, we were in the bridge network, we were exposing the port, right? But in our case, we don't need to expose the port now. So we can directly use it. So database container here, who doesn't allow the container. This is will not allow. So now if you do a curl, or if we just use a curl, there are two ways of accessing it. Curl, then you can mention the local host. This is to check the local host. This is one way.
Local spelling wrong, right?
Oh, is it? Oh, okay. Thank you. Yeah, you're right. Doing a lot of mistake today. Yeah, you can see right now. It is used this name, right? If you see here, welcome to Nginx. So it is clear now. Same thing. If you want to browse it, maybe let me take you here, right? If you just type local host. That's it. You can see, right? So it is clear now we have it. Now we have one more local host. If you remember, I mean Nginx, we have created there one more Nginx, right? This one. If you want to access this thing, there is a port. Now in this case, we are using the default one that is using as a host because in the host, you do not need to map any port mapping. But when coming to the host network, sorry, bridge network, we have used the port mapping, right? So this was use the port mapping. So now if you want to use this one, the host bridge network, that is a port 800, 8080 port, then you have to mention the local port also there if you want to access that one. Sorry, not this one. Let me go back. I can just type. This is another one. It is something port you have defined, you have exposed in your bridge network, right? So you can access this. You can check this network. Let's say if you give some other random, sorry, my bad. If you give some other random port, let's say it will not work, right? It will not work because there's nothing configured along with this one. I hope this is clear, right? So that's how it is. Then coming to the what is next? Let me check. Okay, now we can access it, or we can use curl. If you want to same use the curl also for the second also, you can use the double colon, colon, then port number. This is for the bridge network. For local network, we do, sorry, for the host network, we do not need to define any port. Now you can see this one because this is from the bridge network. Okay, let's go to next. Yeah, this is good because you get nginx response because the container shares the host network, because it is use the same host network. That is why with the local network also you can get it. Now non-network basically full isolation side. So this model, this mode is used for sandbox environments, so where the container is completely disconnected. So it will be used as a like a sandbox environment where the complete network is basically isolated from your containers. Now what we will do, same thing here. Maybe you can non basically you can define, let's say same like that, docker run and name of the network. In my case, this name I have defined, right? Network I given as a name, then D. So maybe in this case what we can do is yeah, that's okay. I don't need to change anything. That's fine. Now let me run these comments. Okay, network D, non-network. So now again, if you type the docker ps, now you can see the isolated network. This is basically the container name for your this thing, right? So now if you check here, this thing. Now if you try to, if you want, you can inspect also, like docker inspect. You can type, then you can copy paste this name to check the configurations. What network is used, basically. Sorry, what I'm doing today. A lot of mistake. Docker inspect, not install. Inspect. Okay. Now so now we can check the what network this particular container is using it, right? How can you check? There is a way to check. I will just tell you that also. There are many ways to check basically. Now for example, I have inspected. Now this is the, where is the nginx using image, and it is running right now. And if you're coming down, there is a called a network mode. Just see, you can see somewhere network mode. Okay, network mode. Yeah, if you can see here, this is a network mode. This is what you need to identify. If it is a host, it will be a host. If it is a bridge, it will be a bridge. Okay, you have to focus this thing. This one way we can check. Let's say if you don't want to basically check this way, what we can do, we can also check in different way in the sense. Let's say if you have many things, I don't want to come and check, because here now what we are doing is we are spending a lot of times on basically this, right? So what is a different another way of checking it? So there is a commands. Let me give a commands. What we can do, we can filter actually. Docker, you first need to understand this is under what. Let me go back. Bridge network, right? Can you see the bridge network once again? Sorry, the network mode. Let me know. I think it is somewhere down, right? Bridge network. Okay, let me check once again. I want to show you that for this thing. what's the different? Okay, here, right? Network modes. Now if you see here, this is what this particular network mode that is a non is under what? Under host, right? Under host we have this one, right? So you have to filter with the host, and then this name you have to filter. If you want to only see, you want to see entire configuration file, you want to see only what network is used, then we can filter with the host config. So how can we do that? So you can simply type docker, okay, inspect, inspect, okay, docker inspect. Then I can give a, because this is actually in JSON format, so I have to use a format. So okay, so once you define a format, fmt format, then I can basically use the single what you call that quotes as I type single quote. So as I mentioned you, this basically use for, and I mean JSON, right? I have to use a uh, double this thing, okay, curly braces. Once I use double curly braces inside here, okay, inside here, what I have to do, dot I have to do dot, I have to use a dot. Why I'm using a dot? Because I will need to filter. Now as I filter this thing, now what is the name? I need to check it. I need to copy here, right? Uh, yeah, yeah. Host config. I have to type a host config, same as it is host config. Then I have to type the, sorry, host config. Then network mode I have to type. So let's type that. Okay. Then host config I can type ho host config as it is. Okay. Config dot, because I want to filter dot network mode, right? Now, if you type, what happens here? Automatically, if you type this thing, now question is, what basically for which particular container you want to check with for? I want to check the container name. Depends on the container. In my case, what's the container we given? We given as a isolator. This container name we given, right? This is the name, or it depends on you that you can define any container name that you want. In my case, I want to say that, that means I'm going to check the container, this container name, this is the name of the container. In this particular container, what is the network type they use it to inspect, instead of checking all the way the JSON format. So I can check. Now I can see it is a none, because this particular is showing as none. Why? Because as you can see right here also it is given same as a none. Under config we have a, sorry, where is that? I'm always forgetting that one. I think somewhere. Yeah, so under config, okay. Config means, yeah, you can check under config. What is that? We were checking network mode. There are many things who get confused here sometime. Can you see here none? Just now I saw, right? So anyway, so we have checked it. Same way, now if you want to check not just the network, if you want to check the host also, we can check it. So the same format we can use it. Let's say I want to check the under config. I want to check the let's say host name. This is a host name. Let's say another host name. Let me check something else if you want to check. Like if you want to check any other configuration, depends on that, you can check it. Okay, that's a one way of checking it. So maybe let's say I will try to check something else so that you get some more idea. Let me try. Okay, now what can I try? Okay, host config, right? Yeah, this is the we're checking. Host config, we have checked this one. This is showing none, right? Now let's say I want to check something else apart from the host config. How can I check? Let me tell you something. If you have something, if you have something about, let me check what I can check. Anything you can use, that name is okay. Basically, you have to filter. Okay, depends on that. Whatever you want to check, you can filter. Let's say if I want to filter call with this name under the group, basically. Okay, so under here, if you want to check the bind, example host config, we have a network. If you want to check the bind, you can check binds like that. Just dot, you can put a dot host config dot binds. Maybe if you want to check some other things, you can config, you can check accordingly. Same thing for register policy also if you want. That's how we can check it. Okay, that's one way we can check it. Second way, this also sometimes looks actually complex. I feel it because it is difficult for me to check everything, checking all the big screen, right? So what we can do instead of using this format, there is another simplest way where we can actually use it. So what is a different way of checking? We will see that now. Same thing here. If you see here, we can inspect and particular. I can copy with this. I want to inspect this one, right? That means I want to inspect this one, but this time I want to filter this one with the help of grep commands. I have to use a pipeline symbol, this thing. Now I can use a argument as a grep to filter basically. Now what you want to check? You want to check what? I want to check a network mode, right? So you can type here network mode. Same name you can go network mode. Now you can see here. If as you type here this name, I can say it is a none. Similar way, if you have any other let's say name instead of the isolator, let's say I have a different container called as a web app, right? So I can check this also web app. If you remember, web app using this particular name like that. So this I think I prefer to use this one instead of remembering all big JSONs for syntax. Maybe this looks much better for me, right? Or for us, we can maybe use these commands rather, right? Same thing if you want to define the host name means you can just mention the host name. Maybe if spelling is correct, as long as spelling is correct, it will work. You can see host name and the part is the host name be given. Okay, I hope this is clear, right? So right, so that's the thing we need to understand. Now, okay, now let us go back. Now, okay, now we have understood this one. Container has no network connection. It's fully isolated, as we all know. Now, if you want to test also, let's say you can try to ping also. There is no any response will not come because there is any communication, nothing communication because this is using as a non. So again, this is application. This is basically the name of your application, right? Or sorry, container name. Now same, just like before, we can just go inside there and copy paste it, or maybe to go inside that. Sorry, we can type docker exec dash it is nothing but this thing. Now I can mention the this one, right? I can go directly. I don't have to give a bash also. If you want, I can give. Otherwise, uh, sometime it's not also expect. They expect sometime. It depends. Okay. Maybe I need to define sometime it will work. I don't know why. Okay. Anyway. So as you can see, bash is something required. Sometime I don't know why something not required. Anyway, so you better to give bash also. Then you have to go inside. Now you can go here. If you try to ping something like google.com, Google, anything like that, right? So this will basically not work because that's how it should be using it. Now, if you see here, so what do you call, when you compare that between these three network, right? The first is something called bridge, host, and then non. And this is a network mode, and this is the container can communicate or not. This is has an IP or not, accessible from host or not. All this in the high level, it is given. Let's say coming to the bridge network like container can communicate internally by default. By default, in the sense, whenever I have this thing, because they have an internal IP address. If you see here, has separate IP. Yes, when coming to the bridge network, has their unique internal IP assigned based on the subnet range that is defined in your host network, right? So this is why we have a individual unique IP address in your container level and accessible to from host. Yes, if you want to access from the host, this is the thing. Okay, now if this is the reason why, or maybe when we create this thing we didn't expose the port, right? That is why database was not able to see that one because we did not expose the port. So that is the reason P we have not used it. That is why we could not access the database in our situation, right? So you use a P if you want to access from the host. And when we can use that one, if you have multiple containers applications, that time use it. Why we require? Because for if you have a multiple containers, they can talk to each other, and if that is the requirement, then you can go with the bridge network. Then when coming to the second, that is a host network. Basically, container can communicate. Yes, they can communicate host network through the host network stack, right? Because as I mentioned, whatever IP address we have in the host network stack, in that there is a physical Ethernet what you call connection we have, right? So that IP address will be used, and the same IP will be shared across your containers, basically. So this is what I say has separate IP. In my case, as I mentioned, there is nothing, there is no separate IP address assigned to the host network. So use the host IP. So host IP in the sense where you have a containers, sorry, your host stack is host stack IP is defined, right? That IP will be used in the sense where you are running the container, I mean Docker, that IP will be used. There is nothing separate IP created for you. Okay, and then coming to the access from the host and the host level, yes, if you want to access from the host, you can directly, because you don't need to define any port mapping for the host, but in your bridge network case you need to define the port mapping. That is just using the these arguments. And performance critical apps, if you want to have a good performance everything critical application, you can go with this host network. And none is something, as name suggests, right, it will be completely remove your network interface from your container itself. That means you do not have any network connectivity between the container itself. That means each container cannot talk to each other. That is why showing as a no. And then there's nothing public, sorry, there's no any IP address assigned. And also accessible from the host. No, we cannot access from the host because, as I mentioned, there's no any IP itself. So only within the container. And security isolation. Why we can use that one? If you want to, because of the security reason, if you want to isolate that, maybe that is the one of the way that we can make use of this thing. Okay, so yeah. Maybe yeah, this all maybe you can just practice this polo. So as I mentioned, try to enable here. I have not enabled because we are using the bridge network, but I did not explicitly define the port. So maybe I will edit this also as maybe does p, right? Does p you can mention. Sorry, my bad. Does p. Okay, like that. I will save this one. So try to define this one. Okay, then they can see that one. So now we understood some high level, right? The difference between the network, how it works. Yeah. So yeah, maybe in the next session we will see about the storage volumes and all later. Okay. So yeah, thank you so much, Tim. For now, maybe we can wind up here. See you in the evening. Have a nice weekend.